She loves to watch. She loves to watch.
Hi, I'm Art Fein. This is Little Art Poker Party coming to you from Hollywood. We got some very unusual guests today. First one in is Sid Griffin. Sid,
How you doing, Art? Good to see you.
Great to see you, Sid.
Great.
Didn't I see you? Weren't you in the Long Riders?
Yeah, I was in a band called the Long Riders, and now I'm forming a new group. I think we're going to call it Land of Hope and Crosby. So I should have that percolating pretty soon. Perhaps we'll be on this show one time.
Well, you know, when Little Art Poker Party was just a little regional
That's right.
show, Long Riders were on, and you were on quite a few times.
I quite seriously think that Long Riders appearance on Little Art Poker Party many years ago, back when you were just incubating, was the first time the band had ever performed on TV. I think that's true.
And you actually the band did play a lot in America and overseas.
Yeah, I was over at a guy's house today named Richard Williams, who's a Londoner, and we were converting the Long Riders television performances from Spain and West Germany and Italy and England into our system here. So I was going through some of the TV performances of that band today.
Going through some changes.
Yeah, going through some big changes, change in appearance, and we look different. The new band will have a new sound, a different sound, hopefully a more successful sound.
So
and
the new band will have Greg Souders.
Greg Souders will be on drums, and a guy named Pat Johnson from Atlanta is going to play guitar, and I'll be in the band. And the bass player spot is wide open, and we're going to have a keyboardist, an Englishman named Matthew Woodman's going to come over and play for us. So it's good. You'll like him. He's a rockabilly type guy. He's not one of those.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. So thanks for coming on our show. Next guy. Now, you see him here. Can you get a shot of Robert Englund? There's the man. And there's the image right here. Can you zoom in on this? This is Robert made up as Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street. Has the makeup stayed exactly the same for all 4 episodes?
Actually, no. The first makeup was designed by a guy named Dave Miller, who did Thriller, one of your favorite videos, Art, for Michael Jackson. And then it was refined by Kevin Yeager, who did all the good stuff on Cocoon. And he's been with me since Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Starting to get into Roman numerals now.
Yeah. Actually, if we could take another look at that. What is that stuff on your hand?
On my hand, it's just an old work glove that they dip in salt water, so it fits me real supple. And then it's hand-pounded brass and copper and fish knives, one of my favorites. They're beveled and they extend off of the glove tips. Good for absconding with nubile teenage girls, etc.
Well, you've got an interesting sort of fame these days, because the Freddy Krueger thing is the Nightmare on Elm Street bigger than ever, yet you can walk around unrecognized, right?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I mean, I have a certain anonymity. I sort of busted it doing some national magazines, but yeah, I can kind of hide from Freddy. I'm haunted on the Late Show. You know, I'm chasing Cheryl Ladd down the street somewhere right now in Cincinnati at 4 in the afternoon and things like that, but I can still preserve a certain anonymity from Freddy, which is nice. You know, it's weird though. I'll go in to get like a fuel pump or something at Pep Boys, and the parts department will go, "Yo, Krueger," to me, and I get busted once in a while. It's a little uncomfortable.
Well, this is a music talk show. We don't talk about movies here. Now, you're a longtime Los Angeles guy. I know that you've seen this show when it was on cable locally.
I loved it. And I think you guys gigged with Rank and Fine.
Yeah,
that's where I was trying to. Yeah.
We were trying to get Tony Kimmin in the new band, Greg Souders and I. We couldn't wean him away from his brother. It goes back to whatever, the Bee Gees or the Beach Boys, the Osmonds. A brother act is hard to break up. Yeah. And Chip's slot was filled by myself, so we couldn't have them both. But Tony Kimmin, Rank and File, and Chip are both big buddies of mine. Now Blackbird, believe it.
It's not the way they were in Minneapolis.
Yeah, we did a series of Midwestern dates with them that went over real well. Those were good shows, good fun shows. Because they're the type of people you meet in Los Angeles, and you know them enough to say hi, but then you get on the road and play a lot of gigs, and you exchange experiences and have a groovy friendship for when you get back to L.A.
When they were the Dills, were they from up north originally? Were they from here and they went up? No, I know they were in San Francisco.
Well, they were born. Their pop was a Marine Corps guy, and they were born back east at. Tony was born at Camp Lejeune, and Chip was born at I think Quantico, and so they've been all around the joint. I mean now. Back to Southern California with that base down by San Diego, whatever that is. So,
So you've been on the music scene. I mean, you never were in a band or anything.
No. Just a fan, no expert. You guys start doing family trees or something.
But you had most of the records on that wall.
Yeah, and you really do know your stuff. It's pretty impressive.
I always want to ask questions. Like, I want to find out things about Dion and Fred Neal and the Dolphins. I always want to ask things like that from you guys. That's why I used to always watch, Little Arts. Yeah.
Well,
Write
listen,
things down.
we have a couple
Who knew
of-
Johnny Ace?
have a couple standard questions, like what was the first record you ever bought?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I think it was Personality, but I can't remember.
Lloyd Price.
Lloyd Price, right? That was the first one.
Flip side, have you ever had the blues? Quite a good song
Yeah,
too.
yeah, I played that a lot too, but I couldn't remember Lloyd Price's name. Yeah.
So you grew up around L.A. Did you? When was
Yeah.
the first concert you went to?
Boy,
I mean, because this is land of millionaires.
it's so hard to separate this. I think it was Ike and Tina Turner on the Santa Monica Pier with the Ikettes, and one of the Ikettes was Bonnie from Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. And I was like 14, and it was real hip to have the ID bracelets, and dance with the East LA girls, had the best perfume. Yeah, it was pretty great. That was the first one I remember was like really considered a concert, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And then all that real sort of snotty suburban stuff like the Cinnamon Cinder we mentioned earlier and stuff like that. But there were some good groups. I mean, early Righteous Brothers live there.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
That kind of predates my LA experience. That Cinnamon Cinder was.
Cinnamon Cinder was on Ventura Boulevard, and it later became like a sort of psychedelic place called Middle Earth or something like that. And it sort of carried over from a teen show that was out at Pickwick Stables and the Pickwick Riding Stables and Drive-In out there. That was this real big hit teen show. I think it was called the Formula 42 Teen Show, because that was that stuff girls used to spray their ratted hair then. It was right after Dick Clark's original show, Beach Nut, Spearmint Gum, it's flavorific. Right around in there. Real good late 50s, early 60s stuff.
We want to talk about music, and we also deal with live music here. I mean, a lot of times we hardly ever have lip sync because we don't believe in that. But we want to bring up a band. I want to bring them up early. I got my own reasons for this, but I want to bring them on. These are some kids from from LA, I guess. I mean, it's as specific as I can get it because I know they come from all over the place. Saddle Sores. I caught them playing at the Gaslight, which is like a hole in the wall. You said it used to be something else. It's a place in Hollywood down. Beto Litos. It was. It's next to the Ivar Strip Show Theater and the library. It's a real great hole in the wall place that only the real
something for everyone.
Yeah, I guess if you don't like the show at the Gaslight, you can always go to the strip show. But I caught these guys and I couldn't believe it. And ironically, they happen to have in the can already a song about Freddy Krueger, your character. But we're not going to do that right now. Right now, we're going to do another thing written and performed by the Saddle Sores. Guys, are you ready? Let's go. Hey, guys. Yeah. Hey, where are they, guys? Unbelievable. That's the kind of band I like. Actually, we'll have you on.
We could have the debut of the new act, perhaps. Who knows?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wait, tell me something for our listeners who want to get corporate sponsorship. I mean, Long Riders, 2 or 3 years ago, here you guys had a major label record, but how did you glam on?
You can say scam. That's what you're going to say. I know.
Scam was the word, but I think Miller's.
It was actually, as it turned out, was an albatross and a mistake in many ways. I mean, you might as well admit it because I think it's true. What happened is we put out a couple records on independent California labels. They did well here and even better abroad. Then they came out abroad, and as I was telling you earlier, the sort of Costello, Niccolo, Jake Riviera thing picked them up, and our star was ascending on this independent thing. And when we got signed to Island, there's this moment of you realize you're a big fish in a little pond on an independent, but then the major leagues, and you're competing with Hall & Oates and Jimmy Page's new act, you're like, uh-oh, we're worried. So as the Island album was coming out, it was obvious it wasn't going to be the #1 major league type record as we were #1 independent. And the reason was we weren't getting on radio. To make a long story short, other people, including myself, agreed that if we could get on television, we could circumvent not being on radio. And the only way to get on television immediately was some type of corporate sponsorship. And without seeking it, I shouldn't use those two words, because without seeking it, we did a Miller Beer ad. We were never a Miller band. We never got corporate sponsorship from Miller Beer. We did do an advertisement for them and get paid for it and all that bit. But we were never a Miller Beer band, which is one reason, as I said in an earlier show, I was so upset that we're included in articles being critical of bands that did corporate sponsorships with these big multinational conglomerate doodahs, because we never really did. We did take money to do a beer commercial and then split, guilty as charged, but, other than that, that's what we did. But there was a huge, backlash against bands doing that. And of course, they still do it right now. And I could, name all these other bands that are held up as being a very, this great example of integrity because they didn't do it and we did. But the fact of the matter is they have taken money from beer companies as well for a radio ad or for this or for that. The main reason we got a lot of shtick about it is our beer commercial was successful.
Yeah.
And it was on the TV all the time. So it's funny. My father says, well, you never had any hit records. I said, hey, I had a hit commercial. He showed it for like a year, various edits of it. So, I mean,
Working about a million movies up until the Freddy Krueger stuff started, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you constantly see you in the crowd.
I'm bouncing off Sputnik right now. Yeah, I get haunted, Now, cable is amazing. It gives you this whole, resurrection of your career. Some of it you're really glad about. I did a movie for Bob Rafelson when he was the talk of the town.
Sure.
Called Stay Hungry. And it was right after 5 Easy Pieces, King of Marvin Gardens, and I was proud to be in it. I beat out Gary Busey and Sylvester Stallone for the role and had to go through all that process. Gave a big break to Sally Field, got her Norma Ray, and like 6 Oscars later. Pat. Jeff Bridges, who I like a lot, wonderful in this movie. Byron Berline, who was fiddling for the Stones back then, did our music. And a big guy named Arnold Schwarzenegger was discovered for that movie. But that movie was out for about 11 seconds after all of that hype and all of that energy and lots and lots and lots of months in Birmingham, Alabama. It then came back on cable. So that kind of kicked up my career again in the late 70s. But yeah, so I paid my dues and had the hills and valleys, the Hollywood guy, so to speak.
But you grew up in L.A., so did you just naturally gravitate towards the acting thing? What did you do first?
Yeah, I was supposed to, go to Stanford to be a lawyer. I just knew I couldn't retain all that crap. So, I forget when it was. I think I was about 13 or 14. I got into a children's theater for the girls, purely for the girls. I went with a friend of mine.
That had nothing to do with your getting in a band.
No.
These all integrity. Crap. No, and I was, I can remember being down in the girls' bath, and I had real long hair for this part, which also, helped me out with the rock crowd, too. And the girls were teaching me how to blow smoke. And they were like various stages of undress. They were like the harem girls from Aladdin His Wonderful Lamp, and I was Aladdin. And they were putting curls in my hair for the part. And I was learning how to blow smoke. Yeah, what a racket.
I was gonna say,
actors are sissies. Yeah,
sounds
sure.
Good.
Yeah, and I sort of got
Downhill
like
after
the turning
that.
point. Yeah,
I
it was
mean-
sort of-
I mean, how much
Since
better
then,
can you
yeah.
get than that?
no more smoke rings and no more perms with the girls in brassieres. Yeah.
Well, what was the first movie you appeared in?
Thing called Buster and Billy. We were talking about Hoyt Axton earlier, and Hoyt did a real pretty country score for it. Real sweet theme song with Jan Michael Vincent and Pamela Martin, a bunch of people. Dan Petrie, who's the busy director. I got kind of spoiled because my first 3 jobs in a row were starring roles in feature films, all on location for A directors. I worked with people like Henry Fonda and Susan Sarandon, and as I said, Jeff and Sally and Arnold, and people like that. And then reality kind of hit. None of those movies were a hit. They took a year to come out, so I was, Mr. Unemployment, regular. I used to stand behind Joe Besser.
Maybe that's where we saw
That's
each
where we
other.
knew each other.
Yeah.
Joe, remember Joe Besser from the old Abbott and Costello show?
Yeah.
The mean little
I'm
kid.
gonna
He's also a
harm-
stooge.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
think he
harm
just
you.
passed away. But yeah, so those were my early dues, and then after that, I became reasonably traditional, Hollywood
So
actor.
how many years ago did the first Nightmare on Elm?
That was 85, 84, 85. Yeah, so it's been the last couple of years. I do it every summer. We do a nightmare movie, sort of like going to Camp Hell. All right, campers. We're all psyched up to get one of those things done. It's unpleasant for me because I got to wear all that stuff. And it's summer. It's hot.
Well, I would see you around shows and stuff. I'd see you at music shows, just hanging out like I was around LA. Now you've come to the Club Lingerie
Yeah.
down there. Just kind of a tough question I asked on an earlier one, which was, can you think of the best show you ever saw? I mean, there's so many things that could qualify for such a thing.
Well, off the top of my head, mentioning the Club Lingerie, do you remember what the Blasters had gone out? Well, you might have been with them at the time. They had gone out on some tour, and they'd come back like later, one night or early in the morning, and they did a show. Part of them did a show behind Big Joe Turner as the Lee Allen Orchestra. Do you remember that? It was March of a year, 83, 84, I can't remember. And that was at the Club Lingerie. And that's always been, coincidentally enough, one of the main Master Blaster shows I've ever seen in my life. When they apparently did a brief rehearsal in the afternoon and looked at each other and said, well, we all know the material. We've listened to it for 20 years. Joe's sung it for 40 or whatever. It's in the key of C, first one, the end's the winner. And that was just some of the most amazing stuff I've ever seen in L.A. or anywhere, really. That particular show.
That was quite a show.
Yeah.
Nobody recorded. I wanted to have a tape of it.
Well, the photographs that a lot of the journalists took of the stage and back behind, I'm in almost every one because I'm like front row center doing the sort of 1948 version of a headbang. And it was just an astounding thing. Whenever anybody talks about it, I say, do you have any photographs of it? I'm right behind the monitor because, Joe in those days sat, but he wasn't 100%. And I'm in a lot of those photographs of that show, and it always reminds me whenever I see him how tremendous it was and how tremendous he was.
Robert, you got a favorite?
Well, the best show I ever saw wasn't in L.A. It was in Detroit, a place called Checkmate Lounge. I did a lot of theater in Detroit for years. And it was John Lee Hooker, and I'm trying to think who, there was a guest on it. Oh, it was Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, and John Lee Hooker's son on organ, and food and liquor and everything you could ask for. It was like, I was very young. It was a real eye-opener for me. Big Mama Thornton at the old Ash Grove when I was very, very young. And she started her set, and this has been used a lot of times, but I was sitting out there, and the curtain opened, and all you heard was a foot, and she inhaled on her cigarette, and her face was sort of like dashboard lit from the ember from the cigarette, which we've seen in a million movies now, but this was like 64, 65, and it's kind of lit by her cigarette. She started to sing a cappella, and I was pretty impressed, needless to say. And then Pylon up here at Cafe de Grande, funny little Georgia group that used to play with the B-52s from that Athens, Georgia group. And they had this sort of mad, psycho, prom singer girl, and I'd never seen anything quite like it at that time.
Highlight.
And I'm trying to think of the group. What's that group?
Was.
Yeah, was playing that night, and I should have seen them, and there was no one there, but these guys still gave 100%. It was me and Ken Tucker and nobody else in the audience. We couldn't believe it. And as an actor, you like to see that. I mean, I empathize a lot with musicians. Like an actor, even if I'm not crazy about the group or the sound, I I empathize so much. I don't want anybody to talk or be rude if they're really an actor. I've never seen them give so much, so few. But there's one person out there, or 100, all that actor talk. It's pretty amazing. Set. Yeah.
Well, speaking of pretty amazing set,
Yeah.
you know those guys that were here before?
The swords. They kept me sane in my makeup trip.
The Saddle Sores. I think they're warming up again. Let's hear. Well, I told you they wrote a song about Freddy Krueger. Well.
What fun.
Way to go. Saddle Sores from LA. We only got 2.5 minutes left. You guys want to play some poker?
I don't know about that.
Well, let's play for your album.
Just an album.
Use my dick.
I was going to ask you. So listen, when you've been hanging around all these clubs in the LA circuit, were you there you were there in the 60s also, right? I mean, somewhat as a child.
Yeah, I was. The Cheetah, I think. Or, Doors. Yeah.
And this place we talked about on Sunset, the Vito Litos, you say you saw the leaves.
Well, Vito Litos was no. That was actually the Sea Witch, where Sky Saxon and the Seeds and the Leaves and those guys played. Vito Litos was that group Love. They used that was that song was in what?
Right. Yeah.
Little Black Book. Yeah, they were the house band there.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
And then the other guy, the guy came over from England, that had that Arthur the Fire.
Arthur Brown.
the crazy
Yeah.
little Arthur
He
Brown.
and he was there for a long time.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was like a house band there too.
Arthur Brown was once at a gig of ours in Austin, Texas, where he lives, and he's got a company that paints houses with
Right.
Jimmy Carl Black of the Mothers of Invention.
Is that
So you can imagine they paint houses. Two of those bands, the guy's name is Brown, the guy's name is Black, and they didn't even have a clever name for the company. It was like, Austin House Painters or something. And I said, I can't believe it. I mean, come on, think of the possibility.
Well, okay. So Sid, it's been a groove seeing you again.
Good to see
said
you, Art.
this new band doesn't have a name yet.
Oh, well, I think it might seriously be Land of Hope and Crosby. We're going to have
Get out of here.
I'm serious. Like, if we have an Englishman in the band, we're based in California, I think it's a great choice. And even you, smile or giggle, and I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea too. Robert Englund, thanks very much for
Thank
coming
you,
by.
Art.
It's been a pleasure having you here. And we take this to the next step when it's beamed nation all across the world on the satellite. We'll have you back on again.
I look forward.
So thanks for coming by. Thank you for coming by. And time for the theme song by Chucky White. Have you ever seen Chucky White?
Yeah, check.
She loves to watch. She loves to watch. She loves to watch